This is Nikki Glazer from the Nikki Glazer Podcast. On a more serious note, I'm still thinking about that commercial with Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg hating on each other. Because when you listen to the reasons for hating someone or something, you realize just how stupid they really are. There is too much hate in this country, and it's gotta stop. So join us at iHeart in standing up to it. If you see hate, speak up, call it out. And you can learn more by following at What's Up With Hate.
Okay, so we all need to get away from the world sometimes. Well, in the all-new 2025 Nissan Murano, you don't even have to go anywhere. The Murano is the getaway. Just picture it. The Bose premium sound system plays your favorite music as the Murano's massaging leather-appointed seats melt away your stress. Yeah, that's a real getaway. Drive the all-new 2025 Nissan Murano today. Bose and massaging leather-appointed seats are optional features.
This is SpaceTime, Series 28, Episode 38, for broadcast on the 28th of March 2025. Coming up on SpaceTime, a new deep view of the dark universe, China to have people on the moon by 2030, and NASA launches its EASY mission to study the Earth's aurora lights from orbit. All that and more coming up on SpaceTime.
Welcome to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary.
The European Space Agency's Euclid mission has released new data looking at how the universe's rate of expansion is accelerating under that mysterious force called dark energy. Astronomers use the term dark energy to refer to the unknown cause of this phenomenon, and Euclid's taking images of billions of galaxies to learn more about it. The new data release has been analysed by mission scientists and is providing a glimpse of the mission's progress so far. Labelled a quick data release, the batch focuses on 3 selected areas of the sky and demonstrates what can be expected with a larger data release which will follow later next year. The new data contains observations of Euclid's 3 deep fields, areas of the sky where the Space Telescope will eventually make its furthest observations of the universe. Featuring 1 week's worth of viewing each, the Euclid images contain some 26 million galaxies, the most distant being over 10.5 billion light-years away. Launched back in July 2023, the Space Telescope is expected to observe more than 1.5 billion galaxies during its 6-year primary mission. By the end of the mission, Euclid will have observed the deep fields for a total of about 40 weeks, gradually collecting more and more light, revealing fainter and more distant galaxies. The first deep field observations, taken by NASA's Hubble Space Telescope back in 1995, famously revealed the existence of many more galaxies in the universe than anyone had expected. Euclid's ultimate goal is not to discover new galaxies, but to use observations from them to investigate how dark energy's influence has changed over the course of the universe's history. In that regard, it's very similar to what DESI's doing, which we spoke about in our last episode. In particular, astronomers want to know how much the rate of expansion of the universe has increased or slowed down over cosmic time. Whatever the answer, that information will provide new clues about the fundamental nature of dark energy. NASA's Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, set to launch in 2027, will also observe large sections of the sky in order to study dark energy, further complementing Euclid's observations. To study dark energy's effect throughout cosmic history, astronomers use Euclid to create detailed three-dimensional maps of all the stuff in the universe. With these maps, they'll measure how quickly dark energy is causing galaxies and big clumps of matter to move away from each other. They also want to measure the rate at which the expansion at different points of the universe is happening. This is possible because light from distant objects takes time to travel across space. When astronomers look at distant galaxies, they see what those objects looked like in the past, at the time when the light was first emitted. For example, an object 100 light-years away looks not like it does now, but like what it did 100 years ago. In fact, when we look at our sun, we don't see the sun as it is now. We see the sun as it was 8.3 minutes ago. So, by creating a map of objects at a range of distances, scientists can see how the universe has changed over time, including how dark energy's influence may have varied. But stars and galaxies and all the normal matter that emits and reflects light is only about 1/5 of the total amount of matter in the universe. The rest is a mysterious substance called dark matter. It neither emits or reflects light. In fact, we only know dark matter exists because we can see its gravitational influence on regular matter. So to measure dark energy's influence on the universe, astronomers also need to include dark matter in their maps. Although dark matter is invisible, its influence can be measured through gravitational lensing. The mass of both normal and dark matter create curves in space, and light travelling towards the Earth through these areas bends and warps as it encounters these curves. In fact, the light from a distant galaxy can bend so much that it forms an arc, a full circle called an Einstein ring, or even multiple images of the same galaxy, as though the light had passed through a lens. In most cases, gravitational lensing warps the apparent shape of a galaxy so subtly, astronomers need special tools and computer software in order to detect it. But spotting these subtle changes across billions of galaxies enables scientists to create a detailed map of the presence of dark matter, and through that, observe how dark energy has influenced it over cosmic time. It's only with a very large sample of galaxies that astronomers can be confident that they're seeing the effects of dark matter. The newly released Euclid data covers just 63 square degrees of the sky. So far, Euclid has observed about 2,000 square degrees, which is approximately 14% of the total survey area of 14,000 square degrees. By the end of its mission, Euclid will have observed a third of the entire sky. The mission's first full cosmology data release should be available in October next year. This report from ESA TV.
Our dark universe detective returns with spectacular new views of the cosmos. The Euclid Space Telescope is building the largest cosmic atlas ever made. We already revealed the first page of this atlas, and now the telescope has sent back 3 more of these huge mosaics. Why are we doing this? Euclid was designed to very precisely capture billions of galaxies, to show the hidden influence of dark matter and dark energy. These make up 95% of our cosmos, but we don't know what they are. Now, with this treasure trove of information, we can explore all kinds of mysteries in the universe, from galaxies colliding to small stars forming. Today, we reveal Euclid's view of 3 new patches of sky. In these areas, Euclid will eventually make the deepest observations of its 6-year mission, capturing light emitted billions of years ago to look back in time to when the universe was young. In only one observation of these areas, Euclid already mapped 26 million galaxies, up to 10.5 billion light-years away. This deep field is an area very rich in Milky Way stars. As it is close to our galactic plane, we also see many other galaxies. Because Euclid is so sensitive and stable, it can make out the shapes of hundreds of thousands of galaxies in one view. We can see the light between the galaxies. Light made of stars ripped off from the galaxies, now wandering in intergalactic space. This field has not been observed yet by other deep sky surveys, so many of these galaxies are yet to be explored. This is just the beginning. Because Euclid can make these enormously detailed maps, we slowly start to see how huge clusters of galaxies are connected to one another along strands of gas and invisible dark matter. This is the cosmic web. Until now, Euclid has observed about 14% of the total area of its 6-year survey. Over the next years, it will cover 1/3 of the sky outside of the Milky Way. Just imagine what's still to come, and the secrets that Euclid will unveil about our dark universe.
This is SpaceTime. Still to come, China says it'll have humans on the moon by 2030, and NASA launches its EASY mission to study the Earth's Aurora lights from orbit. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime.
This is Nikki Glazer from the Nikki Glazer Podcast. Hey, so we quickly want to touch on something serious. We talked about it when it came out, but wow, that commercial with Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg for Stand Up to All Hate has really stuck with me. Those two just like having it out with each other and telling each other why they hate each other and all the reasons, you're just like, wow, this is what most hate is based off of. Fear, insecurity, and jealousy. It's really just got to stop. Too many people from too many different groups are facing too much hate in our country, and especially online. So join me in standing up to all hate. If you see it, speak up, call it out. Use one of the most powerful tools there is in this fight, your voice. You can learn more by following @WhatsUpWithHate or show your support by posting the blue square emoji and using the hashtag #StandUpToAllHate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here with the iHeart Music Awards and David's Bridal,
who are sponsoring this podcast, and we are so grateful to them.
Thank you for finishing my sentence. And we are here with our favorites, Dotton and Charity.
Where were you in bikinis in the snow?
Montana.
Okay, she flew out and joined you guys.
Isn't it cold?
No, it was
it's bikinis in the snow.
We
Of course it's
risked
cold.
getting hypothermia for those photos.
Wow.
They were sick though.
I don't get bikinis in the snow.
It's
if,
just like an aesthetic. I don't know.
if him and I did that, if we did
like
Speedos in the snow, you guys would be like douchebags.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, Speedos in the snow would be hilarious.
Really? I would be like, let's see it. Come on. I would not complain. I beg him to do stuff like that. He's like, no.
That's going to be the name of this podcast episode, Bachelor Happy Hour Speedos in the Snow.
David's Bridal, if you're listening.
David's
you,
Bridal.
Make it happen. Sponsored
shift your
by
branding a little bit.
Sponsored by David's Bridal.
Speedos in the Snow.
Room wear.
China says it will land its first Taikonauts on the lunar surface by 2030. Beijing says research and development efforts towards that goal are progressing as scheduled. Key elements of its lunar mission include the Long March 10 heavy-lift rocket, the Mengzhou manned spacecraft, the Lanyu lunar lander, the Wangyu lunar spacesuit, and the Tianzhou lunar rover. Each of these projects are now in their initial prototype development phase, with design work proceeding on track. Meanwhile, new launch facilities are also in their final planning stages at the Wangchang Satellite Launch Center on Hainan Island. These include the development of a launch pad and ground support systems infrastructure, vehicle tracking facilities, telemetry, and command posts. Unlike the United States, which used a single Saturn V rocket for each of the Apollo missions to the Moon during the 1960s and early 70s, China's manned lunar landing program will involve 2 launches for each mission, each launch using a Long March 10 from Wangchang. One will carry the Lanyu lunar lander to lunar orbit, while the second will carry the Mengzhou manned spacecraft. Once in orbit, the 2 spacecraft will rendezvous and dock. 2 Taikonauts will then transfer to the lander, which will detach and descend down to the lunar surface, landing somewhere near the lunar south pole. During their time on the ground, the Taikonauts will use their lunar rover to explore the area, undertake scientific research, and collect samples. They'll then return to the lunar lander, which will transport them back into orbit with a once again rendezvous and dock with the Mengzhou spacecraft for their return journey to Earth. Ultimately, Beijing and Moscow will join forces to set up a permanent joint base on the lunar surface near the South Pole, although a final timeline for that is yet to be set. This is SpaceTime. Still to come, NASA launches its EASY mission to study the Earth's Aurora lights from orbit, and later in the science report, a new study claims married men are 3 times more likely to be obese compared to their bachelor counterparts. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime. A new mission by NASA to study the Earth's spectacular Aurora lights has just launched into orbit. EASY, the Electrojet Zeeman Imaging Explorer, will map auroral electrojets, powerful electric currents that flow through the planet's upper atmosphere in the polar regions where auroras glow in the sky. The mission was launched aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. EASY comprises 3 satellites flying in a pearls on a string configuration in a 420 to 600 kilometre high orbit. Over the next few days, the spacecraft will send signals to verify they're in good health and ready to embark on their 18-month mission. Electrojets and their visible counterparts, the Aurora, are generated during solar storms as tremendous amounts of energy gets transferred into the Earth's upper atmosphere from the solar wind, the constant stream of charged particles flowing out from the Sun. Each of the EASY spacecraft will map the electrojets, advancing science's understanding of the physics of how Earth interacts with its surrounding space. The mission will also help scientists create models for predicting space weather. And instead of using propulsion to control their polar orbits around the Earth, the spacecraft will actively use atmospheric drag, experienced while dipping into the upper atmosphere, in order to individually fine-tune their orbits and spacing. This is SpaceTime.
This is Nikki Glazer from the Nikki Glazer Podcast. Hey, so we quickly want to touch on something serious. We talked about it when it came out, but wow, that commercial with Tom Brady and Snoop Dogg for Stand Up to All Hate has really stuck with me. Those two just like having it out with each other and telling each other why they hate each other and all the reasons, you're just like, wow, this is what most hate is based off of. Fear, insecurity, and jealousy. It's really just got to stop. Too many people from too many different groups are facing too much hate in our country, and especially online. So join me in standing up to all hate. If you see it, speak up, call it out. Use one of the most powerful tools there is in this fight, your voice. You can learn more by following @What'sUpWithHate or show your support by posting the blue square emoji and using the hashtag #StandUpToAllHate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here with the iHeart Music Awards and David's Bridal,
who are sponsoring this podcast, and we are so grateful to them.
Thank you for finishing my sentence. And we are here with our favorites, Dotton and Charity.
Where were you in bikinis in the snow?
Montana.
Okay, she flew out and joined you guys.
Isn't it cold?
No, it was it's
bikinis in the snow.
We risked getting hypothermia for those photos.
Wow.
They were sick though.
I don't get bikinis in the snow.
It's just like an aesthetic. I don't know.
If him and I did that, if we did like Speedos in the snow, you guys would be like douchebags.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, Speedos in the snow would be hilarious.
Really? I would be like, let's see it. Come on. I would not complain. I beg him to do stuff like that. He's like, no.
That's going to be the name of this podcast episode, Bachelor Happy Hour Speedos in the Snow.
David's Bridal, if you're listening.
With David's Bridal.
Sponsored
Shift your branding a little bit.
Sponsored by David's Bridal.
Speedos in the Snow.
Room wear.
And time now to take another brief look at some of the other stories making news in science this week with a science report. A new study claims married men are 3 times more likely to be obese compared to their unmarried counterparts. The findings, reported to the European Congress on Obesity, looked at 2,405 people. It showed that while being married tripled a man's risk of obesity, it didn't increase a woman's obesity risk. The data showed a 62% increase in the risk of being overweight in men and just a 39% increase in women. The study also found that each year of additional age increased the risk of being overweight and obese in both sexes. Overall, 38.3% of participants were overweight and 26.4% were obese. The study also found that women living in smaller communities of less than 8,000 people had a 46% higher risk of obesity and a 42% higher risk of being overweight compared to women living in larger communities. But interestingly, community size had no effect on the risks for men. Depression also doubled the risk of obesity for women, and having little health knowledge increased their risk by 43%. Again, these factors did not appear to affect a man's risk of obesity. A new study has found that the Carnaby's cockatoo, which is only found in southwestern Australia, can live to the ripe old age of 35 in the wild. However, a report in the journal Pacific Conservation Biology warns that because the birds take several years to reach reproductive age and don't have many chicks each time, it's important that they live out their full long lifespans for the species to be sustainable. That means conservation efforts should focus not just on juvenile cockies, but also aim to conserve the older adults as well. The authors looked at 8 wild birds and found their ages range from 21 to 35, placing the species in the top 2% of all wild bird species in terms of longevity. Well, we all know what they say about big feet and hands. Now, that's not true, by the way. But scientists have found that people with big feet are also more likely to have a more cube-like heel bone. The findings, reported in the journal The Royal Society Open Science, looked at 36 pairs of feet, trying to see if bigger feet are just scaled-up versions of smaller feet, or if they change in shape to offset the higher joint and bone stress in bigger, taller people. They found that the heel bone and the joint between the ankle bone and the heel bone varied in shape as feet got bigger. Specifically, they found that the joint surfaces of the heel bone grew faster than the bone itself, and the bone became more cube-like in big feet. They also found the joint between the ankle bone and the heel bone was larger in bigger feet. They say the findings revealed that the human foot is unique in ways of adapting to size that may ensure safe loading within the foot across a wide range of skeletal sizes. Bit of good news now, and 7 West Media Network have dumped their nightly astrology spot from the flagship 6 o'clock news bulletin. In what was seen as the biggest joke in Australian journalism since the ABC claimed it was fair and balanced in its news coverage, 7 introduced the astrology segment to try and increase its ratings. Instead, it cost the news department credibility, many comparing it to an episode of the satirical comedy Frontline. Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics says astrology is nothing more than a pseudoscience which has absolutely no scientific evidence to support it.
This is the main TV news program that's on in the evening.
We've got to let our listeners know Channel 7 was actually the only television news, free-to-air news program that was reasonably balanced in its coverage. It wasn't to the left or right. It was good, solid news reporting.
That's right. And the thing was, of course, that you get in new management, which comes from a particular background, where they try and make it more exciting. The thing they decided to do, apart from a comedy sequence,
that didn't work either.
No, but they put on an astrologer, and people said, "What the? Astrology is not true."
And it's not news either. It's fictitious.
Also, this was sun sign astrology, which is even about as untrue as you can get. Just talking about you're an Aquarian, therefore blah blah blah. So they looked at it for a while, and everyone laughed at them, including their own staff, who were really so unimpressed that they made it known. So eventually, this was just pulled off.
I hope the person who came up with that idea isn't working in television news anymore.
I think they still are.
Oh dear.
They have replaced the astrology with a new sort of happy news, good news. That never works either.
That's Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics. And that's the show for now. SpaceTime is available every Monday, Wednesday and Friday through Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Acast, Amazon Music, Bytes.com, SoundCloud, YouTube, your favourite podcast download provider, and from spacetimewithstuartgary.com. SpaceTime's also broadcast through the National Science Foundation on Science Zone Radio and on both iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio. And you can help to support our show by visiting the SpaceTime store for a range of promotional merchandising goodies, or by becoming a SpaceTime patron, which gives you access to triple-episode commercial-free versions of the show, as well as lots of bonus audio content which doesn't go to air, access to our exclusive Facebook group, and other rewards. Just go to spacetimewithstuartgary.com for full details.
You've been listening to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary. This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.